The role of alcohol and substance use in the accidental death of Yu Menglong, a cautionary spotlight. In early September 2025, Chinese actor and singer Yu Menglong died after falling from the upper floors of a building in Beijing. According to his mother and the official statement from the authorities, the fall occurred while he was under the influence of alcohol and was ruled an accidental fall rather than a criminal act. The tragedy resonates far beyond the life of one individual. It serves as a profound, sobering example of how alcohol, or potentially other substances, can weave into a chain of events that lead to fatal outcomes. In this article, we explore how intoxication contributes to accidental deaths, what preventive measures, both individual and systemic, can help, and what policies or support structures exist or could be strengthened around responsible consumption and safety in vulnerable situations. Alcohol and substances are often invisible actors in stories of fatal accidents. They alter judgment, slow reaction times, impair motor control, diminish perception of risk, and may even place individuals in situations they would not otherwise choose. While the specifics of Yu Menglong's death include contested details and even allegations of foul play, the official explanation underlines a salient factor. He fell after consuming alcohol. This statement allows us to anchor a broader discussion on intoxication and fatal accidents. When someone is under the influence of alcohol or other sedating or impairing substances, several risk factors converge. Impaired judgment, the threshold for perceived safety increases. A person may ignore or underestimate hazards, for example, open windows, poor lighting, structural risks, because their situational awareness is compromised. Reduced motor coordination and reaction speed. Even a small slip becomes far more dangerous when the body cannot respond quickly or accurately. Diminished inhibition and risk-taking. Alcohol and some drugs reduce the sense of caution. Someone may climb, lean out a window, or re-enter dangerous spaces they would avoid when sober. Exacerbation of environmental hazards. A building with inadequate safety features, loose frames, insufficient protections, poor lighting, becomes far more hazardous when combined with intoxication. Social and temporal context. Late-night gatherings, peer pressure, fatigue, alcohol use, and possibly other substances combine with reduced oversight. If someone falls asleep intoxicated in an unsecured area, they are vulnerable. In Yu's case, reports say he had dinner with friends, entered a room around 2 a.m., and was later found fallen. Taken together, intoxication is not just a contributing factor. It often is the catalyst that flips potential hazard into fatality. In examining the circumstances of Yu Menglong's death, we must acknowledge the complexities. Conflicting rumors, allegations of foul play, and restricted access to independent evidence and investigations. That said, the official account underscores the role of alcohol and the accidental fall finding. Whether other factors played a role or not, the case reminds us how an intoxicating state can transform everyday environments into deadly ones. Beyond one case, the link between substance use and accidental death is well documented across research and public health literature. For instance, alcohol is a key risk factor in vehicular accidents, falls among older adults, drowning, workplace incidents, and unsafe domestic behaviors. While we may not have a full toxicology and environment hazard mapping for Yu Menglong, his case stands as stark evidence and a catalyst for wider reflection on prevention. Preventive measures, individual and systemic. Preventing substance-related accidental deaths requires interventions at multiple levels, from individual choices to institutional design and policy frameworks. At the individual level, the following strategies are vital. Awareness and disclaimers. Recognize that being under the influence reduces safety margins. If you drink, plan for safe environments. Avoid high balconies, unsecured ledges, late-night access to heights, or situations without oversight. Designated supervision. In group gatherings where alcohol or substances are consumed, appoint someone sober or ensure multiple people are monitoring peers, especially if there will be transitions, going to a bedroom, rooftop, exterior areas. Environmental scanning, Before consuming alcohol or other substances, check your surroundings for hazards. Open windows, broken rails, unsecured balconies, poor lighting, lack of immediate support. Choose safe locations. Exhaustion and time of day awareness. Ill-timed gatherings, late at night when fatigue is high, compound risks. Fatigue plus intoxication plus hazardous environment equals high risk. Pre-planning exits and safety features. If you know a gathering may involve alcohol, choose accommodation or venues that have sufficient safety features, railings, window locks, emergency exits. Avoid makeshift settings or rooms with multiple high-risk features. Substance moderation and monitoring. Limit intake, alternate with sober periods or water. Have a plan to stop and monitor peers for signs of dangerous behavior, disorientation, or unstable movement. At the systemic or environmental level, the following measures are essential. Venue safety standards. For any space where gatherings occur, private homes, rental accommodations, temporary venues, safety features must be maintained. Secure windows/rails, non-slippery flooring, adequate lighting, clearly marked exits, and no temporary hazards, e.g. unsecured balconies, unstable furniture. Host responsibility. The person organizing or facilitating a gathering bears responsibility to monitor intoxication levels, ensure safe sleeping or resting arrangements, and avoid escalation to high-risk zones. Rooftop access, open balconies. Encouraging a culture of looking out for one another is key. Peer intervention training. Educate social groups about spotting signs of dangerous intoxication, confusion, fall risk, slipping out of sight, and how to intervene. Remove someone from a height zone. Ensure they rest in a safe room. Monitor breathing and stability. Late-night transportation or lodging planning. If alcohol is consumed, ensure there is a safe place to stay or transport home. Dangerous transitions. Walking home late, returning to a residence alone. Raise risk dramatically. Emergency protocols and bystander awareness. People attending gatherings should know how to respond in emergencies. Call for help, locate first aid equipment, recognize signs of alcohol poisoning, manage falls. In height-related incidents, securing potential falls or hazards is key. Policy, regulation, and support structures around responsible consumption and safety also play a vital role, especially in vulnerable settings such as late-night entertainment, high-risk venues, or gatherings that involve elevated physical hazards. Existing and potential policy measures include a licensing and regulation of venues. Governments and local authorities can require venues, clubs, rooftop bars, event spaces to meet safety standards, railings, window guards, certified structural integrity, maximum occupancy, intoxication monitoring. Alcohol service regulation, mandating responsible service of alcohol, RSA, training for hosts and commercial operators, limiting rapid overserving, requiring guest monitoring, encouraging non-alcoholic alternatives and safe zone rest areas. The night Yu Menglong lost his life was supposed to be ordinary, a quiet evening with friends, laughter echoing between clinking glasses, the usual late-night stories shared among people who believed there would always be another sunrise. Yet, what began as a moment of relaxation turned into a chain of irreversible events, all set in motion by one silent companion, intoxication. In the still hours past midnight, the world outside his apartment was asleep, but inside, soft lights shimmered against half-empty glasses. Music drifted faintly and laughter became slower, heavier, the kind of laughter that hides exhaustion and vulnerability. Somewhere between the conversation and the quiet, Yu Menglong withdrew to rest, perhaps dizzy, perhaps reflective, unaware that those final steps would become part of a nation's mourning. The chilling truth about alcohol and substance use in accidental deaths lies not only in science or statistics, but in those blurred, fleeting moments when the mind begins to slow, reflexes falter, and judgment dissolves into a false sense of calm. It isn't the first sip that kills, it's the moment after, the one that clouds the voice that says, "Don't go there." His story echoes through countless similar tragedies. Studies show that a large proportion of falls, drownings, and household accidents occur under the influence of alcohol. But behind every statistic lies a scene like Yu's. One decision too late, one step too far, one breath that never came again. When intoxication takes hold, it doesn't just change how a person moves, it changes how they see. The world becomes smaller, softer, slower. The distance between a ledge and a safe corner seems irrelevant, and the edge between control and chaos disappears. The fatal irony is that alcohol grants temporary courage at the very moment we need the most caution. In Menglong's case, official reports pointed to an accidental fall after alcohol consumption. Yet, that simple statement hides layers of human error and environmental neglect. Where were the safeguards? Was the room secure enough for someone in an impaired state? Why do so many private apartments and social venues ignore basic fall prevention when late-night drinking is common? Imagine that scene again. If someone had noticed how disoriented he was, if there had been window locks or balcony barriers, if a sober friend had stayed beside him. It only takes a single preventative act to rewrite a fate. That's the cruel tenderness of hindsight. It shows how easily death could have been postponed, even prevented. Across China and the world, the entertainment industry mirrors this invisible struggle. Young stars face sleepless schedules, emotional fatigue, and constant pressure to maintain perfection. Alcohol becomes a quiet escape, a social equalizer, a tool to silence anxiety. Yet, it also becomes a silent predator when safety measures fail. The tragedy of Menglong forces us to confront this delicate balance. How social culture, emotional strain, and weak safety systems combine to create conditions for disaster. He wasn't reckless, he was human. He sought comfort, laughter, maybe relief from pressure. But the mix of exhaustion, intoxication, and architectural vulnerability proved fatal. In broader context, this story shines a harsh light on what societies often overlook: the micro-risks of intoxicated living. A missed railing, a slippery floor, an unlocked window. All are ordinary objects until alcohol turns them into instruments of death. What could have been done differently? Prevention, as experts argue, begins with awareness and environment. Imagine if every apartment or event space had visible warnings, motion sensors near balconies, or policies requiring supervision when alcohol is involved. If nightlife venues trained staff not just to serve drinks, but to protect those under their influence. If hosts of private gatherings took responsibility not only for enjoyment, but for everyone's safety afterward. Beyond policy, prevention is cultural. We glorify drinking as a symbol of celebration, relaxation, or maturity. Yet we rarely teach moderation or the simple discipline of watching over a friend. In many Asian societies, declining a drink is seen as disrespectful, making peer pressure a deadly accomplice. Yu's story may not only be about alcohol, but about this culture of expectation, where saying no is harder than saying cheers. His fall becomes more than a personal tragedy. It's a mirror reflecting the cracks in collective responsibility. The people around him, the building design, the lack of safety culture, all share fragments of accountability. If one of these layers had held firm, he might have lived. When the news broke, fans flooded social media with disbelief. Many refused to accept the accident narrative, suggesting deeper, darker causes. But beneath the controversy lies a more painful truth. Alcohol and misjudgment kill quietly without conspiracy. It doesn't take enemies or plots. It takes one vulnerable moment in the wrong setting. Every accidental death holds lessons. Yu's story can spark a movement toward better awareness in nightlife and entertainment circles. Studios and agencies could establish wellness programs addressing emotional burnout and responsible consumption. Apartment designers could integrate smarter safety features for young residents. Even fans could turn mourning into advocacy, sharing messages about safety and moderation in his memory. Policies, too, must evolve. Governments can require high-rise buildings to install preventive locks, railings, and night vision cameras for immediate detection of movement near edges. Campaigns can target young adults, reminding them that safe drinking isn't just about avoiding fights or hangovers, it's about staying alive. The emotional dimension must not be ignored. Alcohol often becomes a coping tool for loneliness, heartbreak, and exhaustion, the same demons that fame intensifies. What Yu Menglong might have needed that night was not more company or more drink, but peace, rest, and care. Society's failure to provide emotional support often drives people toward risky, self-soothing habits. The night of his death, the city lights outside continued to shimmer. Taxis passed below, unaware of the tragedy above. Inside the apartment, silence replaced laughter. A life that brought music, films, and smiles to millions ended without warning, leaving questions hanging in the air like echoes of unfinished songs. And yet, perhaps his story can still sing if it reminds others to be cautious, to care, to look twice before stepping forward. Each time someone decides to moderate their drinking, to check on a friend, to secure a window, or to sleep before the next glass, they honor his memory. Accidents caused by intoxication are not mere misfortunes. They are preventable losses. They demand both empathy and reform, because behind every tragedy is not just the victim, but a circle of family, friends, and admirers left haunted by what if. Yu Menglong's name will forever carry both beauty and sorrow. But if his passing pushes society to face the overlooked dangers of alcohol, to balance freedom with safety, and to protect life more fiercely, then even in death, he continues to create meaning. His story becomes a warning light in the fog, a message whispered through silence. Be careful when you're not yourself. A single night changed everything. But through awareness, responsibility, and compassion, maybe the next one won't.